June 30 is the scheduled deadline for the closing of the continuous voter registration (CVR) exercise, as given by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). But days after the conclusion of party primaries, it has been observed that there's been more turnout in the number of Nigerians trooping to registration centers, and it's on the rise every day, with many giving one form of reason or the other as to why they are yet to complete their registrations, therefore seeking for more grace so as not to be disenfranchised. To that regard, the House of Representatives has asked the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to extend the voter registration exercise by 60 days. Member House of Reps Ben Kalu, APC Abia, while moving the motion, said the extension will enable more eligible Nigerians to register, which is in line with the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, which requires INEC to suspend voter registration at least 60 days before an election. The Federal High Court in Abuja has issued an interim order restraining the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) from ending voter registration on the 30th of June 2022. Now the question stands on why the voter registration deadline in the first place. What is potent for INEC to do, going by the number of unregistered eligible voters willing to be registered at various centers? This is our focus on tonight's episode of Nigeria Today. I am Lydia Odijiochi. Welcome to the program and thank you for joining us. With me in the studio is former Director, Publicity and Voter Registration, INEC, Nick Dazang. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's voter education and publicity,
voter
actually.
Education and publicity.
Thank you
for that correction. And also in the studio with me is Director of Programs, Yaga Africa. Always a delight to have Cynthia Mbamalu.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Nigeria.
All right. Now, let me come to you. Now that the court has ordered INEC not to end its deadline as against the stipulated 30th of June, how would you react to this line of action by the court?
Well, let me say that I think the judgment is fortuitous in the sense that if you watched the last youth vote count mega concert that took place in Lagos, which was organized by Yaga Africa, among others, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, addressed the crowd when he saw the search. And from the comments he made, it was very clear that he acknowledged that it was inevitable that there would be an extension of the exercise. Okay. And it's also inevitable given the kind of interest that the primaries that had just taken place by the political parties had generated. I think that either by virtue of the outcome of the primaries or the candidates that emerged, it tended to generate excitement among Nigerians, particularly youths. But also, if you go back history lane, people tend at the last minute, to come out to vote. We have this tendency for waiting until the 11th hour before we come out. So we've had this, or rather in the commission, they have had this challenge in the past. So it's not new, but there are things I would like Nigerians to appreciate, even as we pile pressure on INEC to extend the continuous voter registration exercise. We also need to appreciate that, one, INEC operates within a budget. And before 2017, when this commission, or rather the former commission under the watch of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, summoned the courage and the will to do continuous voter registration on a continuous basis as contemplated by sections 9 and 10 of the Electoral Act. In time past, what used to happen is that registration was done for a month or two before the conduct of general elections or off-cycle, elections, after which the cards are printed and they are distributed. But in 2013, what the commission did was to now recognize that they didn't have the personnel in the first instance to conduct the registration on a continuous basis as enjoined by law. So what they did was to recruit registration area officers, what we call RAOs, to take care of all the wards or the registration area centers in 8,809 wards or registration centers across the country. These were young computer savvy persons who were trained to conduct this registration. And then in 2017, on Thursday, 27th April 2017, for the first time in our annals, the continuous voter registration was flagged off here in the FCT and all the states across the country. And it continued for 1 year. And then shortly before the 2019 general elections, it was also extended. But we need to appreciate that whatever extension we are requesting for must be also be informed by the fact that INEC needs to do some house cleaning several months before the conduct of the election. The commission, after harvesting all the registrations, it has to clean all the registrar of multiple and double registration.
So there's a lot of
work to be done. And then after doing the cleaning for due duplication, you now also need to print the permanent voter cards. And that is, it costs money. And don't forget that as you extend, you also have to pay staff for the extension. You have to pay for the materials you use for the extension. You have to buy fuel to
all
power and all the logistics.
Yes,
And then also the other key thing also is the distribution. After you printed the cards, you need to distribute to all the states and to all the centers where registrants are supposed to go and collect the permanent voter cards. And then finally, the other major consideration that I would like us to avert ourselves with is that this continuous voter registration cannot continue interminably or without end. At a point, it must stop because INEC has to publish the list of voters and to give all the political parties contesting the register of voters with which they will use they need to have an idea of those that are going to vote, the number of people that will vote, and so on. And that has to be done. The date for the publication is 12 January 2023.
Okay, let me come to you, Cynthia. I also want you to react to this extension and also talk about concerns raised about possible shortage of voter registration machines, inadequate manpower. He was also mentioning something like that, and personnel at registration centers. Do you see these reasons as a case for the extension?
Yes, these are parts of the reasons I believe the Commission should consider an extension. So, for instance, while I totally agree with Mr. Nick that Nigerians will like to wait for the 11th hour, because this process started last year and it's been ongoing at INEC's LGA offices in these 774 local government areas. However, something beyond the fact that Nigerians like to wait, I know there was a spark after the NSAS protest. A lot of young people said, I want to register, and conversation started. Then the party primaries happened. But we also have been observing the CVR process as Yaga Africa. And I know some weeks ago we issued a statement calling on INEC to investigate reports in some locations where either some days the personnel are not deployed, in some LGAs where they feel no one is really observing, and some of our observers had gone and they didn't see registration officers present. There was also the challenge around due information. So some weeks back, INEC started rotational registration in some states where rather than just LGA offices, to bring the process closer to people, they were moving from ward to ward. So for a period, it would be this ward, what are registration area centers, another day to be another period, it's another ward. And we had gotten complaints from locations in the FCT actually. We got complaints from Kwara and some other states where the information was not out there on which day will you be in this ward and which day will you be in the next ward. So some voters, prospective voters, did not know where INEC would be. So that was one of the challenges. Okay, you don't have sufficient information for people to know for this rotational process where it's going on. It didn't mean that there was no registration happening in the LGA office, but you know the RACs, registration area centers, are closer to the people because it's at ward and ward level. But then there was also the issue of adequacy of the IVED, that's the machine, not just the machine but also the personnel. And we've gotten complaints from some states. So INEC actually had tried to respond to that. I know the commission released a statement stating that additional 209 IVED to be deployed to some states, 5 states in the southeast, and Lagos and Kano were the other additional states, because of the demands that some voters or prospective voters had raised the issue that the machines are not sufficient. So INEC had additional 209. However, we need to also look at the broader convention around logistics management for CVR. Because if you don't have sufficient personnel present, sometimes you have a lot of pressure. Actually, like Mr. Nick said, post-party primaries, it's almost like there is a spark, and you go to different locations, you see people queuing. And one of the things I think we need to start learning to prepare for as a country is additional contingency plans when it comes to engagement. Because one of the things that would have been done as the moment there was an increase in the interest, that machines should be deployed sufficiently, and if possible, where normally in some LGAs you just have 2 of the IVETs registering people, you could actually increase the number to beyond 2. Now we have an interesting institution, I think from Anambra, one of the reports we got, you know, for Southwest they have issues of insecurity, not just Southwest, they also got that from Sokoto, from Zamfara, where there are some locations where because of insecurity, registrations were not happening there, so there was a bit more move to centralize in some locations where it was safer. Now to do that, you can't use the same number of devices that you would have used for one location to register when you know there are people trooping in from other locations there. And I think that was what led to some of the pressure we saw in some places in the southeast. Because of insecurity, some local governments, some locations were not safe. So INEC had to move to another location, but it did not lead to an increase in personnel and number. So the pressure was high. In Sokoto also, we saw that happening. Because you know, because of bandits issue is a part of the northwest. Some locations are not safe for personnel to be present. So I think there is a general challenge with that, and INEC needs to actually step up to address these challenges of machines and personnel.
Okay, there's so much to talk about now, but we'll come back after this time. Don't go away. Stay with us.
I'm just coming back from the office to come and check to see if I could do this, but now they're saying they have closed, they're not giving out tallies, so I have to come back tomorrow again. You know, so it's a bit difficult and tedious. There might have to be an extension for everybody to be able to vote and for their votes to count in the 2023 election.
There is not enough manpower, first of all. That is an issue that INEC is facing. The whole, the labor force in INEC is missing. There is not enough manpower to make sure that all the people that are meant to register for this election at this moment are registering. So that's a major issue I think the INEC is facing. I think if there's more funds for the election to be extended and for manpower to be available on ground, like human resource, then that would be a major problem solved.
The number of youth I saw here, they were much, honestly, and I think that it's very wise for INEC to extend this date at least, because in fact some even left without doing it, and I think even if they give up to 10 days more, they will not even be able to, because the youth that I saw here, there was crowd here, there was crowd.
Imagine a million and billions of people that have gone on today with the hopes of coming back, and the deadline is on the 30th. What do they expect? Do they want us to vote or do they want us to start Omaido? They should look into it. They should consider us. We are trying our best to get these PVCs and they are not looking into, getting that date extended. They need to think about it now. Look at everybody's coming out to get their PVC. That means there's an interest. So they should look at that interest and increase the date.
Welcome back. The program is Nigeria Today, and we've been discussing extension of voter registration. Now, let me come to Nick. Now, you've seen the reaction from Nigerians there? How would you react to their comments?
Well, my reaction, I think I'm in favor of an extension.
Okay.
And if I had my way, we should extend for another 2 months. That would give time for everyone to come out and register in order to vote. Okay. And also that will give INEC sufficient time to address areas that are challenging. And then after the 2 months, we have another 4 months, before the publication of the register. Okay. That is before 12 January 2023. Okay. And other things being equal, INEC should be able to remove double registration, print the permanent voter cards, and distribute. I say this advisedly because in 2011 and 2015, because of pressure, and INEC kept extending until the last minute, when these cards were printed, there were mix-ups. You now discover that cards that were supposed to be for Rivers will be taken to Sokoto. What? Because of the pressure. And that's why we are saying, yes, extend, but don't put undue pressure on INEC to the extent that at the end of the day, the purpose for the extension will be defeated. So you do it, in such a manner that both ways, it's a win-win. And then also you have to also look at, does INEC really have the budget to carry it to do the exercise for another 2 months? And if it doesn't have, to which recourse will it find to source the money? Nigerians need to know this.
All right. Okay, now, Cynthia, let's talk about the fact that on a daily basis, we have citizens clocking 18 years, even as the exercise is ongoing. And of course, definitely, they will also want to participate in the exercise, and so that they can also participate in the elections. Now, what is their fate if INEC still goes ahead with the sets?
Which is why I believe and I stand with the need for an extension. Because like you said, every day young people turn 18. And in fact, in other clients where you have a centralized database of citizens, I know in South Africa, once you're 16, the commission reaches out to you to register ahead. If they project you be 18 by the next election, they actually reach out to you because they have a centralized database. So they use their national database of citizens to know who is going to be turning 18. So this limitation doesn't exist in those countries. But here, because in fact, INEC probably has one of the most comprehensive database of citizens so far, because the NIMC is still a work in progress. It is important that we limit the chances of reducing people, the rights of individuals to register. How do I mean by limit the chances? So if it means extending to give more people the grace to register, because some people will turn 18 in July, some people will turn 18 by August. At least you say, if we extend by two months, July, August, for instance, you've given people the opportunity to register. So you say only those who turned 18 from September, October, November. So you are reducing the number of persons you'll be limiting or restraining from registering or participating in the process just because of the age factor, which is not their fault. We don't have a national database. So that is one. The other reason why I believe an extension is important is because if you look at the whole value chain of registration and production of permanent voters card, INEC, I know one of the complaints is we need more time to produce cards. But I'm of the opinion that we don't need to take as much time that we spend in production of cards. The new law says you publish the register 90 days to the elections, and you have a period of 7 days for display claims and objection. INEC needs time to do the cleaning, so the ABIS, the automated biometric identification system, to clean out multiple registration. And so because of that time, if you count all of that, it is still safe if you extend till August. You will still have time to do what you want to achieve, because what matters at the end is that at least a reasonable percentage of citizens are registered. And when you create that sense that the system is open, a lot more people would trust your process, because then you're also showing that you're an INEC that listens to the people, because now people have called. You want to answer.
Don't also forget that INEC projected for itself a register that will contain 100 million registrants.
Yes.
And so we as at now we have, as at the last election, 2019, we had 84 million and counting. So extending will also allow us to work towards that projection.
Yes.
But more importantly, it will allow Nigerians to participate. And the essence of a democracy is participation.
Yes.
And thirdly, whoever wins an election would have won with a mandate robustly given by the people. It's always, you know, the democracy can be flawed if you win an election but not with a strong or robust mandate. You know, so it's key that we have more people, and we also encourage them to turn out to vote. You know, and I think that the fear we had initially was that there will be voter apathy, but with the search we are seeing, it looks to me as if a lot of people will turn out to vote in the 2023 elections, and also what will serve as an impetus to that for me is the significant improvements we've seen in Ekiti. And if INEC is able to register a similar milestone, a similar superlative election in Oshun, that will also spur people to come out. You know,
and briefly, I also want us to talk about the issue of aligned Nigerians. When we come to that level where people can vote anywhere, because people are always on the move.
Yeah, to achieve that, you need a centralized database of the register. Currently, we don't have that, in the sense that if we centralize, wherever I am, if I log on to from INEX office in, let's say, one LGA in Kaduna State, I would be able to connect. But what we have currently is, it's going to take a lot of process to automate all of this, but there is a possibility subsequently. However, in the law currently, the provision for transfer is still...
the thing also to note is that even when you are able to build your database to the level she's talking about, and you are able to improve on technology, you must be aware the capacity of people to hack into the system. Even the advanced countries don't allow people to vote using the internet because of the possibility of hacking. So unless we reach that point where it is, we can put on firewalls.
Not necessarily internet voting in the sense. So for instance, one of the challenge we have is when you do registration, it needs to be transferred to the national data, which is why production of PVC is still done at the central point. It's not done at state level. But if we get to the stage where you can even produce PVC, you can decentralize it, it means people can go to a polling unit and vote, and if you check my name on the system, you know where I am if I'm registered. But now we've not gotten to that level. Gradually we would get there, but that's where we need to go to.
All right, we'll get there someday.
At least before I left INEC, they were working on something like that.
We'll get there.
So,
well, that's it on Nigeria Today, and my guest has been Nick Dazang, who is also the former director, Voter Education and Publicity. And thank you for sharing your thoughts. And of course, Cynthia Mbamali in the studio, Director of Elections, Yaga Africa. Thank you so much for your continuous tap on issues of politics.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can watch this and other episodes of Nigeria Today at www.youtube.com/NTNews24hub. I'm Lydia Odijochi. See you next time, and thank you for being a part of this. Goodbye.